Good morning, and welcome to Cafecito con Colon. It's going to be a wonderful Sabido Gigante with Eliza Sultan. We have a great guest of honor today. We have a fantastic advocate in our community, and I am just so thrilled to have her with us today. I'm grateful that she was able to join us on this beautiful Saturday morning, which is going to be a Sabido Gigante. So welcome to my Cafecito crew, my Cafecito colleagues, and each and every one of you who are my extrovert therapists. So thank you for joining me today. I'm wearing my Southwest Labs hat. Uh, Wonderful John and their great leadership. They're doing amazing things with instant testing and things of that nature. And I wanted to make sure and promote Southwest Labs today and say thank you for your leadership in the sector, being a great locally grown, in fact, incredible business and making a difference during the time of the COVID-19 pandemic with your outreach and your impact. So there's my Southwest Labs hat. I also want to say thanks to Southwest Labs for providing, let's see here, providing my, what is going on? I got some fun things going on here with my computer. I want to say thanks to Southwest Labs for giving Rafael his first internship in the biomedical engineering sector. Now he's grown up and he's got that biomedical engineering degree from George Washington University, and now is working as a professional with AMRI right here in New Mexico, an internationally known biomedical engineering company. They do compounding and all kinds of great things out of Albany, New York, but they've got a great lab right here in Albuquerque. So here's to Southwest Labs today. Let me get started this morning with some great links for you, links of the day. And Eliza, can you hear me okay? We doing all right?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for joining me today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on your show. I really appreciate the invitation.
You bet. I'm thrilled to have you join me today. It's going to be a great day. Good morning, Steffi Mack. I'm glad to see you this morning. It's great to see you. And buenos dias, le de Dios, Jonathan and Kristen Muniz. The Munizes are dear friends, and I think he's coming by my house tonight because I am a fan and member of the Panza Llena Corazón Contento Food Club that he does. He's got a great hobby where he does these amazing little entrees, and then he's going to deliver them. Good morning, Raymond Swoops Montaño. What a great leader in education Swoops is. Great to see you this morning. Appreciate you stopping by. So let me get started with some of our great links that I have for you today, and then we will go from there. I actually wanted to share something with you. It's going to take about 1 minute and 30 seconds, and let me share my screen because I want to run this plug. You have seen me, or I should say you've heard me talk about the Pachamama Alliance, which is a phenomenal organization, and I want to make sure that you get to see one of the great impact events they're going to get ready to do. You've heard me talk about Lynn Twist. I gave you an opportunity to sign up for her seminar this last week, which was awesome. And let's see here. I wonder if you're pinned, Eliza. Every time I switch around, I can't. I seem to be getting you static on display here, which is awesome. You look terrific over there. I'm just trying to figure out why it's doing that when I'm not in gallery view. But let's keep moving forward here. I'm going to share my screen because I want to share this fantastic little spot about an opportunity you have to engage with the Pachamama Alliance, which the Pachamama Alliance was started by Lynn Twist, and its mission and function is to not just change the world, but specifically to address the concerns associated with the headwaters of the Amazon and indigenous populations of the Amazon, and really making a difference. And I also want to give a shout out to my International Association of Firefighters, IAF 244, wearing my IAFF 244 shirt today. But let me show you what they're doing coming up here shortly. So let me share screen and check this out.
Imagine an online course that could transform your concern for the world into effective action. And you could start now, right from your own home. The Game Changer Intensive delves into the systems and structures that stand in the way of a just, sustainable, and fulfilling future, and at what you can do to change the game. From day one, the Game Changer Intensive comes alive with powerful, provocative material from today's most inspiring thinkers. Information and insights woven together to help you see the world and yourself in a new way. You'll develop the inner resources needed to take meaningful action in the world. Economic inequality, racism, the breakdown of our democracy, climate change. You'll discover strategies and solutions to the most pressing issues facing humanity and the grassroots movements that are addressing them. And you don't have to do it alone. You'll have opportunities to connect with others from around the world who share your commitment. When you're ready to make a difference, when you're ready to be part of creating a new future, then you're ready for the Game Changer Intensive.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And thanks to the Pachamama Alliance for the incredible work that they've done over time in restoring the headwaters and supporting the indigenous populations of the Amazon and really making a difference in the world. They've just Lynn Twist introduced me to this organization many years ago, and I want to encourage you to sign up for this intensive training. It's about 3.5 weeks for an 8-week period of time, or 3.5 hours per week for an 8-week period of time, and it is free, and it is something that I hope that you might be interested in taking advantage of. You can certainly, I think they put the overhead load at about $100 per person. So if you'd like to, they have an opportunity for you to certainly make a contribution to help offset the cost of delivering the program, but it is absolutely free. And so let me put the link in the chat. Good morning, Julio. Great to see you. Talk about a change agent. Julio, you continue to inspire me, my friend. There is the 8-week intensive course by the Pachamama Alliance, which I think this thing's going to be amazing. I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to invest the 3.5 hours a week over the course of its schedule because of the legislature and the legislative session kicking off and the obligations I'll have with that. But I may try and register because every once in a while these great organizations will allow you to get the link if you miss an event. And so you can, maybe if you can't be there live, you can check it out later, which is why I may register anyway. But you got to register by tomorrow. So please take note of that and check it out. Check out the Pachamama Alliance, the Soul of Money Institute, Lynn Twist. They have made me a better human being, and I appreciate it very, very much. So a couple other opportunities. This is going to be a great session on Wednesday at 10:30 New Mexico time, 12:30 Eastern, about recovery and resilience after COVID-19. This is going to be with Jose Andres, the founder of the World Central Kitchen, El Famoso, Jose Andres, and the Honorable Ro Khanna, and representative out of California. And they're going to have a great visit with Michael Froman, who is the Vice Chairman and President of Strategic Growth MasterCard. And so I think this might be a very fascinating seminar also, or online opportunity for you to sign up for, and there is the link to that. So there are all the plugs and that I wanted to share with you this morning. Now let me get you to the news of the day. Here is some information about signing up for the vaccine. Here is a great public announcement on KOB saying that the state is going to contact those of us who have signed up for our COVID-19 testing in advance, or for not testing, the vaccine. And I want you to do that here at this cvvaccine.nmhealth.org. Please register for the vaccine. Again, vaccines can't save lives unless they become vaccinations. We got to get them in people's arms, and we got to get them out in the field in order to make this effective. Good morning, Crystal C. Romero. Talk about another great civil servant. I love you very much for the work you do and appreciate your advocacy. We have these incredible advocate or pain in the activists, which is what Eliza likes to call herself, a pain in the activist. But we've got great advocates out there like Crystal C. Romero, and we will not forget Vanessa Guillen. Thank you for being here. Carlos, buenos dias. Gracias por venir. So there's your vaccine registration again. Shout out to Southwest Labs and all our providers in New Mexico who are stepping up and getting it done. Now, I was not able to find the time yesterday to actually figure out the exact logistics on administering the home kit that I got for the vaccination. I said it again, for the test, the home test that is free. Do not spend the $20 at Amazon to get a free home test. Just go to the link that I just put up. We coordinated and are working with Vault to make sure that you have access to the vaccine pre-test. I can't stop saying vaccine. I got vaccine on the mind. But sign up for that home test on the Sabido Gigante. Sign up for the home test right there. See where it says learn.vaulthealth.com/NM? Sign up. What are you waiting for? Click on it. Yeah, Crystal likes Pain in the Activist, Eliza. She likes that one. All right, it's 9:15, and I'm already still going on my vault testing. But let me just, real quick, let me just continue to show you more incredible news about somebody who I've been kind of dancing with in the news and in the press because of the accountability measures I put in place for Commissioner Coy to do the right thing when he had some inappropriate reimbursements. This is the commissioner out of Otero County who has now talked about blood running out of that building after saying there's, joking around about the only good Democrat being a dead Democrat. So he continues to get international coverage for his incredibly bombastic statements that he makes. He was, of course, at the riot in our capital, and amazing. I just thought you'd like to see that update for those of you that think I may have been overreacting about this guy. There's some more information or latest updates. Now, I think that was everything I wanted to get you signed up for. Oh, you know what? There's a good story on Penny Hoarder today about tracking your stimulus check that should be forthcoming. And I know a lot of people have asked me. I know my beautiful friend Billy Heelan asked about it and wanted to help give people guidance on how to find out the status of their check. Well, check out this Penny Hoarder article. It's really good. It gives you the IRS site to sign up and check to see the status of your particular distribution there. And I thought that might be helpful for you this morning. So with that, let me go to camera with an incredible Pain in the Activist. Let me tell you a little bit about Eliza. Eliza, good morning.
Good morning, Brian. Thank you so much for having me on your show. And it's a real honor to be here. And thank you for using the correct title.
You betcha. You betcha. Well, look, I know you as a beautiful human being with a heart of gold who took a very painful set of circumstances in your own family and pivoted and said, we are not going to stand on the sidelines and allow other families to have to go through what I went through and what my children went through. And we're going to do everything we can today to protect their privacy and to respect your privacy, but also allow you and give you a platform to be the incredible Pain in the Activist that you are. And tell us a little bit about your journey in a way that's comfortable. But let me just say that Eliza Sultan on this beautiful Sabido Gigante is our guest of honor today on Cafecito con Colon. Thank you for joining me. And let me tell you about Eliza. She grew up in Santa Fe, New Mexico. She left for a few years and then lived in Portland, Oregon and LA and just became a woman of the world and got an incredible perspective and then did what I love having people do, which is bring that beautiful perspective, the lens that they look through in such a unique and beautiful way, bring it back to New Mexico and lift us up. Hashtag lift up NM. And she went to Brazil in a very important story and inspiring story. And maybe I won't make that part of your introduction, Eliza, because maybe you'll share that with us about your work with the curandero. And a little bit, I'm going to leave that for you to tell. But she's got two beautiful children who she says are her milagros, and I'll let you tell her why or tell us why. But she's just an amazing human being who, over the course of a very short period of time, getting connected with some incredibly passionate civil and civic leaders, she's made a difference already. And we've got some great activism that this Painting the Activist is going to do during the course of this next upcoming 60-day legislative session that kicks off in just a few days. In fact, just a week and a half, we'll have the legislative session kick off. And let me just say, Eliza Sultan, you've inspired me. You have lifted me up. You have really brought tears to my eyes in the ability that you have to touch people's lives with your passion, your authenticity, but also with your vulnerability. You have an incredible ability to allow us to feel what's in your heart and therefore allow us to pour into you and invest in your activism. So, Eliza Sultan, welcome to Cafecito con Colon.
Thank you so much. That was such a nice introduction. I would like to start with saying that actually my current project, which is I call it Child Testimony Reform, is being driven by my 8-year-old son, who and like you said, I am protecting their identities, but also it's a fine line that you can't make a difference in this world if you don't step out of the shadows and you don't speak up. Because if you, like you said, stand on the sidelines, nothing happens, no change happens. So I'm going to tell you our story from the start, and I'm gonna tell people ahead of time that it might be a little bit uncomfortable, the topic. I understand that, but what I believe in is embracing the awkwardness. And when you embrace the awkwardness, you're able to have conversations that are uncomfortable, and that's how you get change to happen.
Eliza, before you get to that, what I'd love for you to do is tell your story right before your children, because I do think they're a miracle, and I love hearing miracle stories, and I would love for you to share that with us. It'll frame the conversation today in a very special way.
Okay. So in 2004, I was working at Hollywood Forever Cemetery in Los Angeles as a funeral arranger, and we went to pick up a 300-pound man, a woman my size and another woman my size, so very small women, and picking up the deceased gentleman, and we accidentally dropped him, and I went to catch him, and I felt a snap in my back. And this was before the ACA, so I didn't have health insurance, and I wasn't going to get health insurance. And so I basically was having numbness in my legs, urinary problems, and was really struggling. And I one day said to my coworker, I said, do you have numbness in your legs when you sit at your desk all day? He said, no. He said, I think you might want to get that checked out. So I actually had to come back to New Mexico with the plan of staying for a month in 2004.
Eliza, I hate to do this. As you're telling this story about this numbness in your legs and this incredible journey that you had to recovery, I'm getting some indication that your sound is not exactly perfect, and we're getting a lot of audio feedback. So I wonder if you might be able to adjust. I'm not sure how we fix that, but we're getting a lot of echo.
Is that any better?
I bet it is. If you change something, maybe that'll fix it.
Let me sign in from my phone. Let me try that. I'm going to sign out.
Okay, I apologize to our Cafecito colleagues that are, hey, good morning, sweet lady.
You want to say good morning?
Good morning.
It's so great to see you.
So great to see you again.
Thank you.
It's echoing again.
I know, we're going to try and fix that. I'm not sure what's happening this morning.
But
we're having, I don't know.
Okay.
Good.
Is that any better?
All right, we're going to let our friends that are our Cafecito colleagues let us know if that's any better. I know that you've signed in from your phone. I'll ask you to change it to horizontal there, which would be landscape, so we see a little bit better. And then that's perfect. And then now let's see if Jonathan,
is that any better?
Jonathan, can we find out if that's any better?
It's still going.
Still echoing, huh? Emma says that Emma Dahl, Dr. Dahl's office. I'm getting indication that it is better. And it's, well, Crystal's saying it's still echoing. I wonder what our issue is this morning.
Maybe let me try and change location.
Okay. Or maybe we switch, maybe we add in your headsets after all that, huh?
Okay, I've got to find the headsets.
Are we getting any better? Crystal, give me some.
Is that any better?
You're not listening to the show anywhere else in your home, are you?
No.
All right.
Should.
Okay, this morning we're getting a tour of Eliza Sultan's beautiful home, and we're so
Yeah.
thrilled to be able to do that. Welcome to Casa Sultan.
Thank you.
And while Eliza's doing that, let me advance this a little bit in
let's
terms
try
of
that.
me putting up just a few links to some incredible coverage that she's gotten with her awesome work. Jonathan's saying that's a little better. Crystal's saying it's better, so I think we might be in good shape. There is here's a link to the Santa Fe New Mexican, and here is a link to the Las Cruces Sun News, and truly amazing and important coverage on this issue that impacts children and will impact children for years to come if she is successful. So let's see, we got the headset in. I think we're ready to go. Let's try it again. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Let's try it again.
All right. So you were feeling some numbness in your legs from an injury, and then?
I came back to New Mexico and I didn't have health insurance and couldn't get health insurance because of a pre-existing condition. And so I got on a waiting list for an MRI, which took about 6 months. And I was in bed for 6 months, just in a lot of pain. And finally I got the MRI and it showed that I had my disc was herniated and it was pressing on my spinal cord and I wasn't able to walk. So I got a surgery. And then I got a staph infection in my spinal column. And that led me to be in a wheelchair for 7 years. And during that period, I tried lots of alternative therapies. I tried many things. And so my mother heard about this curandero on Oprah Winfrey. And she suggested that we check it out. And I said, that sounds like quackery to me. And she finally one day insulted me, thank God, and said, I think you must really enjoy the wheelchair and I think you must really enjoy pain if you're not willing to go. And I said, well, she's right. Maybe I should check it out. So got the time off work and I bought the ticket. And then my dad said something really powerful. He said, if you're going to go down there, you need to go with an open mind. And so I spent 6 months praying about just having an open mind, being open to whatever could happen. And so I went down to Brazil in the wheelchair, and like I wasn't supposed to be able to have children. I should mention that because of my back and the hardware in my back. And I don't exactly know what happened with the curandero. But whatever happened worked. I don't use a wheelchair anymore. And that's actually where I met my children's father. And so that's the story of how I'm walking and how I have
let's just be clear. So Brazil, you go out there in a wheelchair, you go see the curandero, and we're going to have Dr. Eliza Torres Cheo on Cafecito con Colón sometime in 2021. I don't know when. But incredible educator regarding that work. And I just wanted to be clear that you were in a wheelchair. You were told you weren't going to be able to have any children. Now you have 2 beautiful children. You're out of the wheelchair and obviously moving around because you're moving right this second. But I just want to say, when you say your children are milagros, truly they are milagros brought to you by the curandero in Brazil. So anyway, you have 2 beautiful children. Now let's talk a little bit more and focus in the last 30 minutes or so on this incredible pain in the advocacy you've been, or pain in the activist that you are. And let's talk a little bit about that. And I will post up the legislation that is a result of your incredible advocacy.
So I want to start with how this came out. So in about 2017, I took some training, very basic training that said, you teach your children that if someone touches their private parts, you tell your mother here, or you tell an adult right away. And my brother had also taken this training, and he called me up and said, you got to talk to your kids. And I said, but they're 2 and 4. I mean, aren't they a little young to have this conversation? He said, no, they're not too young. So I had this awkward conversation with my kids. And I told them, if anyone ever touches your private parts, tell mommy right away. And 6 months later, my 2-year-old daughter disclosed to me that she was being abused. And so what I did is I believed her, I listened to her, I took action, and I called the police. And the next day they had a sexual assault nurse exam, and they found physical evidence of abuse on my daughter. And I mean, this was really hard for me to wrap my head around that this would happen by their own father. And so what ensued was that we had to interact with the justice system. And so in my first conversation with the SANE nurse, they said, and by the way, your children are going to have to testify in open court in front of their father, the person who hurt them. And I said, this can't be. I mean, that's not how it happens on Law and Order.
Exactly. Eliza, let's emphasize the age. I mean, I think this is what is the thing that makes our heads explode. Go ahead. Please, let's emphasize that.
My children at the time were 2 and 4 when this came out. By the time we got to trial, they were 4 and 7. 4 and 7-year-olds in New Mexico are expected to walk into the courtroom, sit in a chair in front of a group of strangers, hold their hand up, swear to tell the truth, and look at the person who hurt them and tell about all these horrible things that happened to them. And I mean, I asked prosecutors if there were, accommodations for them, if we could do it in another room or anything like that. And they said that there was no framework in New Mexico for this. I did later find out that there is a law on the books, but there's a problem with it, which is that it can subject a child victim of sexual abuse to a psychiatric evaluation. And that was too traumatic. That was way too traumatic for them. And so my children were brave. They asked me up until the trial, is there anything we can, what are we supposed to say? And I said, well, I can't tell you what to say. The only thing I can tell you to say is the truth. And the only thing you can do is be brave and tell the truth. But the fallout, the trauma that has resulted from them testifying is unacceptable. And I realized that something had to change. I was like, this cannot be this way. So I approached the New Mexican, and I got an article on the front page last December. And it came out that New Mexico is one of 2 states that does not currently provide for alternative modes of testimony for children. We are talking about a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old, let me remind you. So I actually approached you. You were a huge help with me. And I said, I need to talk to some legislators and find some way to change this. And, I'd approached a few legislators and I didn't get any luck with anyone taking it. And you suggested that I approach Senator Michael Padilla. And he was, what an angel. He was so open to this. And he heard my plea. And here's the thing. In my conversations with prosecutors over the course of the 2 years of our case, I heard that somewhere between 75 and 90% of cases fall apart because the kids are too afraid to testify. I have a friend whose daughter was sexually assaulted at 2 years old, and the case was never prosecuted because she couldn't testify. And that offender has gone free. This is unacceptable. New Mexico does not rate well with child welfare. And this is just one example of where we need to improve with child welfare. And so I have been working with Senator Padilla, and the Attorney General Balderas has been very supportive, he and his team, and you. And so we have a bill that is going to be, that has been pre-filed, and it's going to be introduced this session. And hopefully it's the beginning of fixing this problem. I mean, this is the Old West. This is the Old West way of thinking.
Well, let's. That's a perfect setup. I'm going to put the link right now to the legislation that you and Senator Padilla have worked on, and this is in fact titled an act to that relates to the courts allowing remote testimony in certain circumstances. This is a new section of the Victims of Crime Act, and it's called the Remote Video Testimony and Measures to Ameliorate Testimony-Induced Trauma. Talk to us a little bit about what that looks like and what you're going to have to share with our 112 legislators in order to get this bill passed that is being sponsored by Michael Padilla.
So I'm not a lawyer, so I don't feel like I can speak to the particulars of the legislation, but what it aims to accomplish is that instead of the child going through a psych evaluation, somebody like the child's therapist, somebody familiar with the child can come and testify and explain why this would be traumatic. My son, who is now 8, had a full-on nervous breakdown after testifying. He has recovered and he's doing great, but he was the one that said, "Mama, we have to change this. I don't want other kids to go through this." And the way I feel is that, like, if the hell that we endured can help somebody else, then we can move forward and put what happened to us behind us. You know, the person who hurt them got 36 years in prison, but we want to help other people because our justice, we're grateful for our justice, but other kids need justice. There are too many children who are going without justice because they can't testify. I mean, it is a scary thing for an adult to testify in front of an offender. But imagine a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old in front of the person that hurt them. We have to pass this legislation. This has to happen.
Let me, and you can tell me off limits if you want, Eliza, but I've been with you on the journey for quite a while now.
Yes, you have.
And so I actually am intimately familiar with what you've been through and actually what your children have been through. And I guess it's important for me I'm hoping that we can spotlight a little bit. I mean, what I want our Cafecito colleagues to understand is that what your son went through and what you've been through as it relates to this child testimony was really the second phase of what was such a negative and traumatic experience with the court system and with the prosecution system and with the court system. And I guess I feel like it's important to have a little bit of context because I want people to know what a hero you are and what heroes your children are. Because this was not, like you say, this was not court TV, or what did you say?
Law and Order.
Yeah, Law and Order. Thank you. This was not Law and Order. This has been a journey. And on the front end prosecution, you mentioned the sentence that the offender got, but there were days when we were worried that this was even going to see the light of the courtroom. And I just wonder if there's a little bit of texture you can add there.
Sure.
Mostly because I just want people to really understand who you are and what strength you've had to find to get from where you were to where you are today, which is an advocate who's about to make history in New Mexico by changing the law to protect our children.
So if you are a victim of sexual assault in New Mexico, what I've learned is it's very hard to get your case prosecuted. And I'm incredibly grateful to the 4th Judicial District and the Attorney General's office, but let me explain what happened. We had gone through, I think, 3 or 4 prosecutors in the 4th Judicial District because they were overwhelmed. They had too many cases. They had prosecutors quit. And there was even a period where we didn't have a prosecutor assigned to the case. And an advocate in the beginning told me, that if you want your case to get prosecuted, you have to go to the highest tower and you have to shout for justice, and you have to do anything and everything you can do to get your kids justice. And so a person who doesn't know where to go, I mean, like, I actually turned to you and asked, like, where do I go? What do I do? These kids need justice. We were being stalked. We had to move 9 times due to stalking. And there was actual conviction of the order of protection. So our lives were in danger. And this wasn't like a wanting justice. It was, we needed justice. We needed to be safe. And so somebody told me that I had to petition the Attorney General's office. Now in New Mexico, my understanding is that the Attorney General's office can't just take a case. My understanding is they either have to get help requested by the prosecuting district attorney's office, or there has to be a conflict. Is that right?
Pretty close.
Okay. So I was able to get a meeting with the Attorney General's special prosecution team, and I made the case.
Mimi just took my card in Candyland.
We can talk about it afterwards.
Took my card in Candyland.
Sorry, justice has to be reinstated.
Well, we want restorative justice in New Mexico, especially as it relates to Candyland.
Yes.
And one of my all-time favorite games as a child.
And so I basically went to the Attorney General's office with an advocate, Connie Warren, from the Santa Fe DA's office, who was involved in my stalking case. And I basically begged them, please help us. We have to get justice. This person I was afraid we were going to be dead if we didn't get justice. And so I made my case to them, and I don't exactly know how the whole thing happened, because there's probably a lot of behind the scene things that happened. But the bottom line was the Attorney General's office assumed the case. And, their advocate, Casey Carmona, was amazing. And the prosecutor, Brian McKay, was amazing. But they also made it clear to me that the kids had to testify in open court or the case would go away. And they offered a court dog for my son. But he has allergies, so that didn't work. And so I basically
I think you cut out for just a second. I want to make sure everybody hears. The Attorney General's office has a fantastic court dog, but it's a therapy dog, and they offered that up for Eliza's son. But Eliza's son is allergic, and so we couldn't enjoy the benefit of that service dog. And let me just take a minute while you're relocating to just say that the details of your case are so heartbreaking, and you and I spent a lot of time talking about that. And I just want to be clear that when I did reach out to the Attorney General's office to kind of shine a spotlight or get some focus on your advocacy, the Attorney General Balderas, was immediately responsive and his team activated. And I want to take a minute personally to say thank you to the Attorney General's office for stepping up, and Attorney General Balderas for stepping up. And he's had a good week in the press with his $400,000 Medicaid fraud case that he just closed the door on and got a conviction for, protecting New Mexico's families against fraud, and a couple other things that he's done this week. But there are so many things and so many cases where it's not going to be on the front page of the paper. And I just want to take a minute to thank the Attorney General's office for their responsiveness, their receptiveness, and their good work. And you did that, Eliza. So I'm not doing something you haven't done, but I want to echo and amplify that message of gratitude, because, like I said, it's not the work that puts elected officials on the front page of the paper that is always the most important. I mean, this case was hugely important, and you took this to the end result that was warranted and well deserved. And it's not until now, all this time later, that your beautiful editorials, your op-eds that you've written and submitted, now we're getting some attention on this. but it was long before the attention was on this case that the Attorney General's office was doing the heavy lift. So I just wanted to take
Absolutely.
a minute, because again, this week I've talked all week about civil servants not getting the gratitude that they deserve. Those civil servants that you named just now, Brian and his team, and elected officials not getting the gratitude they deserve, like Attorney General Balderas that you just mentioned. And so while you were relocating, I thought it was a great time for me to be able to amplify your message of gratitude. So, and let me just say this, and I'm gonna give it back to you, Eliza, I promise. Well, one of the things I read was awesome. I like this. Talking about gratitude, I like this, Eliza, that as you've been a pain in the activist, that you've learned that there's a delicate balance between three forces. And those three forces are politeness, persistence, and gratitude. Politeness, persistence, and gratitude. And so I just wanted to amplify your message of gratitude while you were relocating there. So go ahead. I'll let you continue on.
And I would also like to echo my gratitude to Attorney Balderas and his whole team, because it was actually my son. He was in the bathtub and he said, "Mama, we need to choose a day each year where we recognize the people who helped us to get safe." And so we celebrate our Justice Day on October 3rd because that was the day of conviction. But what that highlights for us is that we got justice, but there are too many kids in New Mexico who can't get justice because they can't testify in front of their offender. And then you know what happens? The abuse continues. And then we get this vicious cycle that continues. And another part of this that is actually sort of a side piece, but it's also very important, is that the family courts in New Mexico have a disconnect between domestic violence and custody determinations. And my case is a prime example of this. I had been sounding the bell for years that I was concerned about my kids' safety. The offender was ordered for numerous mental evaluations and never did the mental evaluations. And then his time was increased with the children. And so I just want to say that there's also work to do with family court reform, and it's related to that. But getting back to this legislation is a first step. I mean, DA Torres in Albuquerque is also working on he's involved in this project as well. And he has been consulting with Senator Padilla on all sorts of victim treatment reform. And New Mexico has a lot of work to do, but this is a first step. And I'm so grateful that people heard me. And it was not easy. There were times when I thought I was gonna just hit the wall. But the bottom line is you don't give up. You run into a wall, you don't give up, you just keep going. I have this magnet on my fridge, and it's Winston Churchill, and it says, "When you're going through hell, keep going." And that was my mantra. And I feel grateful that we got our justice, and my kids are getting better. They're in counseling, and that. But other kids, I wouldn't feel right about leaving our case and just moving on and leaving all these kids in the dust who aren't getting justice. So this is why I'm doing this.
And I'm so grateful you are, Eliza, and not to emphasize the pain, but to emphasize the education piece of, if I may, Eliza. We started here today talking about you having that difficult dialogue, the uncomfortable conversation that we as parents have to have with our children. And you had that conversation with your children at the age of 2 and 4.
Yeah.
And I want my Cafecito colleagues to let that set in for just a minute. I am confident I didn't have that conversation with Rafael when he was 2. I am confident we waited longer. I just want to say that what's amazing is you had the courage to have that conversation at that very young age. And then 6 months later, your daughter came to you with this story.
At 2 years old.
With her story, not a story. Let me just be clear, her story. And you believed it and you responded to it. And I guess I just want to underscore that because I do think that you were a little bit outside of maybe you were in one standard deviation or maybe even two standard deviations about the age we think of when we think of when's the right time to have the talk or these conversations. I'll just say that probably when Raphael was little, I could have done a better job protecting him. And when I reflect upon how many of those conversations I had, or how comfortable I was in a restaurant when he was 5 or 6, allowing him to go to the restroom at the restaurant alone in a public restroom. These are things that I reflect upon now that I've either matured or just heard more stories. And I just want to share that again with our viewers, because I do think it's an important takeaway that really, it's hard to believe this, but it's not too young to start sending those messages and having that uncomfortable conversation with your children about their safety and about what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, because it may blow your mind to know how many trusted voices make bad choices with people they have access to, and they harm them at a very, very young age.
I agree with you. And the other thing that I think is important to underline is that by telling my children that if this happens to you and you tell me, I had to believe them when they told me. And if I didn't take action, then they would never feel that I would believe them again. And my favorite part of the trial, unfortunately, I wasn't there, but from what I've heard, the defense attorney asked my son, "Did your mother tell you what to say?" And he said, "Yes. She told me to tell the truth." And that's what I've taught my kids, is you always tell the truth. And and the other thing I want to say is that Henry keeps asking me about what's going on with the legislation. And so the day I told him that it got filed, he snuck into the pantry and got some Oreos. And I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm celebrating." He said, "I'm celebrating for the other kids." So that's what it's about. It's about helping kids in New Mexico.
Eliza, every time I think that you couldn't inspire me anymore or make my heart grow anymore or enrich me anymore by allowing me to share your life with you and your children over this amount of time, you surprise me even with another story. And so thank you for sharing that. Beautiful. I totally could see Henry because I know that you're not going to believe this, but so let me share something real personal, but also kind of funny. But let me tell you why that little story about Henry is so special for me. And if my sister's watching, Cheryl, if you're watching, you can back me up on this. But I was so heavy, and I had such a problem with my relationship with food and such as a child that literally there was a candy closet in our house, or a candy cabinet, and there was a lock on it, Eliza. There was a lock on it. A little slatch lock that looked like a little, literally it was locked. So we couldn't get to the candies and the cookies that, of course, my parents loved and I loved more than they did. And it wasn't appropriate and it was horrible. So their therapy for me was to lock the candy closet. And I remember on so many occasions figuring out how to use the little thing to pick the lock so that I could get in there, and sneaking in there and going up into the cabinet on my knees so that I could reach it and get the cookies out of the candy cabinet and eat them. And Oreos is one of my favorite cookies. And so I just spent 2 minutes talking about something that's not that relevant, except to say thanks for sharing the Oreo story with me, because I loved it.
Oh, I want to say one more thing.
Yeah.
So right before the trial, I said to my kids, I said, "Is there anything I can do to make this safer for you?" Because we had tried everything. I mean, it was either they were gonna testify, or they weren't, and the case went away. And Henry said, "Yes, I want a police officer to accompany to the courtroom." So I didn't actually go and ask the Attorney General's office, which I probably should have. I just went and called the state police myself. And I spoke to then Lieutenant Clay Gorrett, out of the Las Vegas area, amazing guy. And he sent Sergeant Steve Martinez to accompany my kids to the courtroom, and that amazing police officer sat behind the offender and made the kids feel like, because they were afraid that he was going to attack them, and they felt safe. And so that was like one something to ameliorate the fear, but we have to do something so that kids don't have to face their offenders. They can still testify and they can still tell the truth, but they shouldn't have to recover from testifying. We're now a year out and they're still traumatized. And that's why we need this legislation.
Absolutely. So let's take the last 2 minutes, Eliza. Thank you. You've been so kind and open with your story, and I'm grateful for that. And I'm even more grateful that we're going to change the system with your story and with your advocacy. And you are a pain in the activist, and I'm so glad that you are. And let's take the last couple of minutes to Eliza, to ask to educate folks about how they can get involved in supporting your work. What's the best kind of point of contact? What's the best engagement point? I just posted that link again, tag Senator Padilla in that. And what's the best way for folks to engage with you, engage in the advocacy, to become a pain in the advocacy, to become a pain in the activist? How do they do that? And what's the way to make that happen?
Okay, if you want to support child testimony reform, please contact your legislators, contact Senator Padilla. I also have the New Mexico Coalition Against Domestic Violence is supporting this legislation. I'm working with the New Mexico Children's Alliance. We're in conversations with them as well. So please, the most important thing you can do is contact your legislators and please tell them to support child testimony reform, that this is an absolute must that we pass this. Too many children are going without justice, and I'm very appreciative of you giving me this opportunity in this platform. It's a very important issue.
Absolutely, Eliza, absolutely. So there's the link to the New Mexico Coalition Against Domestic Violence. I'm wondering, and I'm thinking out loud now on Cafecito con Colon, which is dangerous, but Eliza, have we connected you up with NMCAN?
New Mexico Child
Advocacy.
New Mexico Child is that Ezra Spitzer over there?
It is Ezra. It is.
Yes,
Ezra.
I actually have been in touch with him, but need to follow up with him. Thank you.
Can I encourage you to do that? And let me just celebrate NMCAN and Ezra's incredible model for advocacy. He, like you, kind of thought outside the box on how to effectively engage with the system, and they have done amazing things as it relates to increasing the quality of our foster care system in New Mexico. And the way that Ezra and his team have done that is allowing the children to lead in that advocacy, up at the legislature, engaging with the agenda building for NMCAN. And I just want to celebrate Ezra. I want to encourage you to engage with him at a higher level. And I know you know how to reach him, but if there's any static in the line, allow me to clear that out, okay?
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on your show, and thank you for highlighting this important issue. And again, please contact your legislators and ask them to support child testimony reform.
I love that. And Eliza, I've certainly linked you. We're friends on Facebook. I finally kicked someone off so that I could add you. Thank you for requesting the friendship so long ago on Facebook. But is it okay if people reach out to you through Facebook?
Absolutely.
To engage a little bit?
Please, absolutely. The more people that are, making noise, the more pain in the activists that we get, the more likely we will be able to pass this legislation.
I love it. I love it, Eliza. Any last minute thoughts as we get ready to close out today's episode of Cafecito con Colon?
I would just like to say thank you to all of the people who supported us through this journey and all the people who've continued to support us through this journey.
Well, that's that message of gratitude, that balance between politics, persistency, gratitude, and politeness.
Gratitude, and persistence.
I love it. I love it. Well, we appreciate you so much, Eliza. Thanks for making New Mexico a better place for our children and for protecting our children. And we're just thrilled that you were able to come on today. And we stand with you, Eliza. You know that you text or call me anytime. and I'm going to exceed your expectations on how quickly I respond. That's always my goal.
Thank you, Brian. Have a great day. Vaya con Dios.
Vaya con Dios. Gracias
Thank
por
you.
venir. Gracias por todo. Eliza, we appreciate you so much. And we'll look forward to seeing you again on Cafecito con Colon for an update about the great work you're doing with Senator Michael Padilla. And join me on Monday after the Sabido Gigante. On Monday, we're going to have another great episode of Cafecito con Colon. We're going to bring on Matthew Barkley, who's a great mentee of mine who has inspired me over the years and is doing great things. And he's going to talk a little bit about his work, his passion, his vision, and how we have been a wonderful and effective team for others who want to pour into young leaders as mentors. So look, make it a great, great Sabido Gigante. Enjoy your weekend. God bless you. Thank you for joining me as my extrovert therapist. We'll look forward to seeing you next week. And thank you, thank you, thank you. Reach out to somebody in isolation. Let them know they're not alone. Have a great day.